Imagine walking into a village and finding a woman's body lying in the middle of a courtyard. No one knows who she is. No one knows who killed her. Then an old African black magician makes a terrifying decision to perform a forbidden ritual that would force the dead to speak. And what that woman revealed changed everything.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Sky, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing well too. Today, I'm bringing you 3 accounts in one episode. A dead woman who spoke from inside her own corpse to name her killer. An ambulance driver who gave water to a girl he didn't realize was already dead. And a mother who fought something in the dark that wore a human face and ate human flesh. Stay with me from beginning to end. I promise it's worth it. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss a single upload. Now, let's get into it. The person who shared this first account with me, I'm going to tell it exactly the way it was given to me. No changes, no additions. This is their account. I want to start with a friend of mine named Chuck. Chuck is African. He's from a coastal region of Gambia. I won't say exactly where, for reasons that'll make sense as we go. He's around 28, 29 years old. And his grandfather is something else entirely. The old man is around 90 now. He's one of the most respected traditional practitioners in his region. His whole life has been spent doing things that most people can't even conceptualize. He's faced things, he's survived things, and what I'm about to tell you, he lived through it. But before I get into the story, I need to give you a little background on where this happened, because the place matters. In Gambia, there's a form of ritual dance called the kumpo. Elaborate costumes, thatched frameworks, and the kumpo figures, these structures, move for hours without any person visibly inside them. The local practitioners do this through black magic. They also use wooden figures called jambetan, carved puppets with spirits sealed inside, bound entities used to guard villages, to patrol, to watch. That's the world Chuck's grandfather grew up in. That's the world this story lives in.
Now, the year is 1990. Chuck's grandfather, I'll call him Bagla to protect the family, and his closest friend, a fellow practitioner named Lala, traveled from Gambia to Mali. They were going to visit their teacher, their spiritual master. This man, their guru, lived in the Acacia region of Mali, right along the Senegal-Mali border. He was originally from Mali, but back in 1975, he had traveled all the way to Gambia to treat a woman who had been struck with black magic so severe that no one closer could handle it. That trip brought them together with Bagla and Lala, and over the 15 years that followed, both men had made the journey to him many times, to learn, to study, to bring him their hardest problems and walk away with answers. This trip, they came with something specific, something urgent. When Bagla and Lala arrived at the guru's home, they were not prepared for what they found. The yard was packed with people. That alone was unusual. They had come many times. They had never seen it like this. They pushed through and made their way inside. And there, in the courtyard, a body was laid out on a cot. A woman, 30, maybe 32 years old, dead. Everyone in that yard was gathered around her. The guru was there. His students were there. When the guru saw Bagla and Lala, he came over. He greeted them warmly. He told them to sit, to rest. "This man," he said, "I have a situation to deal with first. Wait for me, then we'll talk." They were exhausted from the journey. They sat down. and somewhere in the waiting, they fell asleep. A while later, the guru's voice awoke them. He looked at both of them and said, "You came together, which means something serious has happened." Bagla said, "Yes, we're in serious trouble." The guru nodded. "Tell me everything, but first I need to deal with this situation. Stay 2 days. Can you do that?" Bagla said they'd stay as long as needed.
They ate. Then the guru sat down and explained the dead woman. "This morning," he said, "a body was found behind one of my neighbor's homes. That neighbor, his name doesn't matter, I'll call him Eric, his house sits near an abandoned stretch of land. By the time people found out, they'd already gathered at Eric's place. No one knew the woman. No one had ever seen her before. And Eric kept saying he had nothing to do with it." The guru paused. A fight broke out. Some of the young men started beating Eric. I ran over. I saw the body. He described what he saw. The woman's eyes, blood coming from the pupils, finger marks around her throat. She had been strangled, slowly, violently enough that her eyes bled. The guru separated the crowd. He told the elders that Eric was innocent, that something darker was happening here, that he needed the body brought to his home. They agreed. "And now," the guru said, looking at Bagla and Lala, "I need your help." "What kind of help?" "Tonight, the 3 of us, a ritual on this body." Lala and Bagla looked at each other. "Soul return magic," Lala said quietly. The guru nodded. "Yes, we bring the spirit back into the body, temporarily, long enough to ask what happened, long enough to learn who she was." He told them to rest while he prepared. After he left, Lala turned to Bagla and said, "What fortune! Of all the things we've come to learn from him, this is the thing we're going to witness." Bagla agreed. They waited. Afternoon became evening. Evening became night. The guru came back with supplies: long wooden rods, rope, small clay bowls, 1 large clay bowl, dried goat fat pressed into something like wax, a red cloth, small pieces of wood for burning. He brought the body into his ritual room, a small separate structure, the kind every practitioner in that region maintains for their work. He instructed his household members to carry her. Inside, the guru worked methodically. He placed the 2 long rods on either side of the body. He tied the right hand and right foot to one rod, the left hand and left foot to the other, tight, deliberate. Then he arranged the small clay bowls in a circle around the body, filled with oil and melted goat fat, with cloth wicks twisted through them like small torches. He left 1 gap in the circle, enough room for 3 people to sit. The large bowl he set up separately. He filled it with wood, poured oil over it, and lit it. The room filled with smoke almost immediately. The smell of burning fat was overwhelming. No one could stay inside. The guru stepped out. He waited for the smoke to thin, and while they waited, he taught Bagla and Lala the words they would need to recite. When the air cleared enough, the 3 of them went back in. The guru sat on the west side of the body, facing east. He placed the large burning bowl between himself and the corpse. He told Bagla to sit near the head of the body and grip the rods. Don't let go, no matter what. He told Lala to sit at the feet and do the same. When the spirit comes back, he said, it will try to get out. It will use force. I'll hold it with the words, but if it breaks free, none of us will survive.
Bagla and Lala, experienced practitioners, both of them, felt their courage thin just a little, but they trusted the man in front of them. They took their places. Recite, the guru said. Don't stop until the body moves. They began, all 3 of them chanting, the words filling that small room, the fire in the large bowl throwing shadows across the walls. Then the room shook. Not outside, not the wind. The room itself shook, like the ground had shifted, like the walls were about to come down. Bagla and Lala gripped the rods, their hands white, their eyes shut, their voices steady, barely. Then the body moved. The moment it did, they gripped harder, the movement intensifying, growing stronger, the body straining against the rods, against the bindings, against them. The guru stood up. He took the large burning bowl in his bare hands, a bowl that had been burning for a long time. He walked around the body, slowly, chanting louder, the bowl in his hands, not dropping, not burning him. That is black magic. That is what it looks like. The body thrashed. The room felt like it was tearing at the seams, but none of them stopped. None of them broke. And then the body went still, and it spoke. "Why have you called me, practitioner?" The guru stopped moving. He stopped chanting. He said, "Tell us who you are." The voice from the body said, "I am not obligated to tell you anything." It resisted for a while. The guru worked. He negotiated. He made a promise. What that promise was, I'll get to in a moment. And eventually, it spoke. "My name is Naira," a false name to protect the real one. "I live in Bamako, the capital of Mali. I'm Christian. I've been married 3 years. My parents are gone. My brothers and sisters are all in their own lives now." She described her husband, a man I'll call Freddie. Small business. They had been happy for a while. Then Freddie started seeing someone else. When she confronted him, he denied it. She went to his family. He lied to them too. She told him she would go to court, file for a divorce. That changed him. He made promises. He behaved for about a month. Then one day, he came to her and said, "Let's take a trip. We haven't gone anywhere in so long." She was happy. She agreed. He brought her here, to this village, to this region. The evening he killed her, he told her there was something he wanted to show her. She went with him willingly. He'd already slipped something into her drink, a sedative. She felt it, the heaviness, the overwhelming need to close her eyes. She told him she was feeling strange. He said, "Let's find somewhere to rest." And he brought her somewhere quiet. And he strangled her. He pressed until I couldn't breathe, until my eyes bled. And then he left my body there and ran. The room was silent. Then the guru said, "What do you want from us?" Naira said, "I want justice, and I want my body returned to my family." The guru was quiet for a moment. He thought carefully. Then he said, "God will punish your husband. I will see to that personally. But taking your body to your family right now, that would put everyone here in legal danger. There are no witnesses to what Freddie did, no evidence. If we arrive with your body, we become the suspects, and your neighbors, your community, they suffer for it." He paused. "Let us bury you here, according to your faith. I give you my word, I will deal with Freddie."
Naira resisted. The guru kept talking, gently, firmly. And finally, she agreed. The guru gathered every piece of information he needed. Freddie's full name, his address, his parents, everything. Then he released her. The next morning, the guru called the village elders together. He told them everything. They agreed to let him handle it. Naira was buried properly in a local Christian cemetery, according to her beliefs. When it was done, the guru turned to Bagla and Lala. "Now, let's deal with Freddie." Bagla asked, "What are you going to do?" The guru said, "I'm going to put a death curse on him. Not a quick one. He will want to die for at least 20 days before it takes him. Crushing headaches, eye pain so severe he can't eat, can't sleep. No doctor, no practitioner on this earth will be able to help him. He'll beg for it to end, and eventually it will." That was the guru's promise to Naira's spirit. That was what he had offered in exchange for her cooperation. He kept it. Now, that was the setup, because what I'm about to tell you next is the part that Bagla still hadn't told Chuck, the part that even now, decades later, still makes the elders of that village lower their voices when they talk about it. This is the real story. When the body situation was resolved,
the guru turned his attention back to why Bagla and Lala had actually come. Bagla said, "Our village guards are gone. The muskatilla, the spirit-bound wooden figures we used to patrol the village boundaries. 10 days ago, they vanished. We can't reach the spirits inside them. We've called. Nothing answers." He continued, "Their messenger spirits, the ones they used to gather information, had returned with almost nothing. Just one thing. They said, 'We can see the shadow of something evil in your region, but we can't identify it. It's operating in secret.' 2 other things had happened. First, a young man named Jian was walking home along the riverbank one night after work. He spotted 2 figures standing in the water, knee-deep, both wearing black, each holding a container. Jian hid behind a tree and watched. The 2 figures spoke in a language he didn't recognize. Then they poured whatever was in those containers into the river. The water started to spiral, a whirlpool, forming right where they had poured it. As Jian watched, the 2 figures stepped out of the water and walked directly toward the tree he was hiding behind. He couldn't run. He pressed himself flat and started praying, every prayer he knew, every verse. The 2 figures stopped right beside his tree, stood with their backs to him, looking at the river. And from the center of that whirlpool, something rose. A turtle, but not a normal turtle, the size of 2 men, the height of one. A massive, ancient, wrong thing pulling itself up from the water. It came to shore. It came toward the 2 figures. It stopped in front of them. And then, a head extended from the turtle's shell. Not a turtle's head, a human head. Matted, knotted hair, rotting flesh, deep gashes across the face, like something had taken a blade and carved into the cheeks and forehead. The wounds still open, the meat still visible underneath. Eyes sunken into dark, blackened sockets. Jian saw all of this in the dim light from the river. He pressed his mouth over his own. His body was shaking. He could not scream. The turtle thing spoke, in a human voice, and Jian lost consciousness. They found him the next morning, still under that tree. The local imam performed a ruqyah over him and brought him back. When he came around, Jian told them everything he had seen. The imam said, "You were reciting prayers the entire time. That's the only reason they didn't see you. If they had, you would not have survived." The second event, 2 days after the Yambatan disappeared, a neighbor's infant daughter went missing, 3 months old, taken from inside the house while the family slept. Nobody could explain it.
Nobody could stop it. That's why Bagla and Lala had come. The guru listened to all of it without expression. Then he said, "Give me tonight." That night, after the 2 men had gone to sleep, the guru sent his most powerful messenger spirit to the village, a jinn he trusted completely, one capable of cutting through the kind of concealment magic that lesser entities couldn't even detect. The spirit came back, and what it reported made the guru's blood go cold. He woke Bagla and Lala before sunrise. "Get ready, we're leaving now." Bagla said, "Where are we going?" The guru said, "Where do you think? To your village, to face whatever is there." Bagla and Lala were speechless. The guru, their teacher, a man of advanced age, was coming himself, leaving his home, making the journey. As they traveled, the guru told them what his messenger spirit had found. "When I sent him to your village, he searched everywhere. Nothing. Then he went to the riverbank, and there he found 3 of them. They attacked him immediately, fast, powerful, the kind of speed you only see in Ifrit Jinn, the warrior class. He fought them off. They fled. But as they ran, they said, 'Our master's daughter will be watching you.'" The guru paused. He asked who their master was. They said Iblis himself and his daughter, Najali. He let that sit for a moment. Then he explained, "Iblis, what different traditions call by different names, has many children, each one assigned to specific categories of destruction. One causes conflict between people. One leads the faithful astray.
One breaks families apart. Najali, her name means plague in the African dialect she speaks, her domain is epidemic, disease, mass death through contaminated water. She's sent one of her most powerful servants to your river, the guru said. His name is Bimru. He's been operating in this world for nearly 2,000 years. He sank ships, he killed sailors, he poisoned water sources. He is not something you handle with standard methods. The two figures Jayan saw that night, they were human, servants of Bimru, disguised as madmen in your village, moving around during the day, working at night. The containers they poured into the river, children's blood. They had already taken 3 children from surrounding areas. Your neighbor's infant was one of them. The other 2 taken from villages far enough away that no one connected the disappearances. When 13 children have been sacrificed, Bimru will have enough power to fully corrupt that river. The water will carry disease through every community that depends on it. Thousands of people will die, and Najali will reward him with even more power. They have given 3 sacrifices so far, 10 more to go. The guru said, "So, are you understanding now why I packed a bag?" They reached the village. Word spread fast. The guru was here. He went first to his sister's home. She had married into this village years ago, back in 1975. That was the connection that had first brought him here. Then he called a meeting. The village elders, the respected men, everyone with authority. He told them everything. He laid it all out. Then he gave instructions. Find the 2 madmen, bring them to me, alive. Do it quietly. Do not let anyone outside know what you're doing. A group of young men went out. They came back with the 2 figures, caught, bound, brought to a secluded spot outside the village. When they searched them, they found ritual objects, tools used in dark practice, and a book. The guru took it from them. He looked at it for just a moment. Then he threw it on the ground. "My hands are unclean now just from touching it," he said. He looked at the gathered men. "Do you know what this is?" No one answered. "This is the Codex Gigas, the Devil's Bible. These men have not simply practiced dark arts. They have converted. They belong to something that is not of this world anymore." He looked at the 2 bound figures. "How many innocent children have you given to it?" They said nothing. The guru's voice was flat and quiet. "Burn them." They were doused in fuel and set alight. Before the end, each of them said only one thing: "Our God will punish you for this." The book burned with them. Their remains, ash and bone, were buried in a pit, and the pit was filled and sealed. That evening, the guru prepared for what came next. He asked for 7 things: milk from 7 different cows collected into 1 container, and 2 strong wooden staffs. He got what he asked for. That night, the 3 of them went to the river, to the exact place where Jian had hidden and watched. The guru took the 2 staffs and spoke over them, long, low words. Then he handed them back to Bagla and Lala. "I'm going into the water," he said. "While I'm under, you stand here, hold these staffs. Anything that comes towards you, call on God and strike it. These staffs will protect you. Nothing should be able to approach. I'll be dealing with what's below. You deal with whatever comes above." He waded to the edge of the water. He chanted over the container of milk. He submerged it. The water in front of him began to spiral. A gap opened in the center of the whirlpool, and the guru stepped through it and went under. On the bank, Bagla and Lala stood with the staffs, and the night came alive. From the trees along the riverbank, sounds, roaring, animal sounds, howling, the kind of sounds that have no business coming from any creature that belongs in this world. Bagla looked into the tree line and saw eyes, many pairs of eyes, all looking at them, all wrong. Neither man moved, neither man ran. Nearly an hour passed. Then the river spiraled again. the gap opened again. The sounds stopped, and the guru walked out of the water. Bagla and Lala noticed something immediately. He wasn't wet. His clothes, his skin, completely dry. He had just stepped out of a river. He was completely dry. They didn't ask about it yet. They just asked if he was all right. He said yes. He told them to go home, that the real work would happen that night, late, that he needed to rest first. He also said, "I haven't eaten since we arrived. I won't eat until this is finished." Bagla offered to bring food. The guru waved it off. "I need 2 things, a handful of unripe rice and a chicken." Those were brought. Late that night, deep into the dark hours, the 3 of them returned to the river. The guru asked for 2 large leaves from a nearby tree. Bagla brought them. The guru divided the rice evenly between the 2 leaves. Then he slaughtered the chicken and let the blood drip over both portions of rice, equally soaking through. "Take these to the river," he said. "Release them on the water." They did. Then the guru cut a circle in the earth near the bank, a wide one. He placed Bagla and Lala inside it, one on each side. He sat in the middle, facing the river. He taught them the words they needed to say. They began to recite. The guru reached into his pocket and took out 3 small stones. He threw them into the river. 1, 2, 3. The water began to spiral, and from the center of that spiral, it rose. The turtle, the same one Jian had seen, massive, ancient, moving toward them with a weight that seemed to bend the ground under it. It stopped in front of them. 2 heads came out of the shell, both human, both wrong. Knotted hair, rotting flesh, carved wounds across the cheeks, dark hollows where the eyes should be. One of the heads spoke. "Why did you call me practitioner?" The guru said, "You know why. What you came here to do, it's over. Leave this place." Bimru laughed, a sound that had no business coming from anything living. "You want me to leave? Come out of that circle and say it to my face." The guru smiled. "You have great power. Come into this circle and prove it." Bimru's expression changed. The guru spoke one more time, quiet, final. "Last chance. Leave this region, or I call what's waiting." Bimru said nothing. The guru said one word, "Dagura." And from the tree line, something launched itself into the clearing. Bagla described it as a lion, but not a lion. Half man, half beast. In the darkness, it was larger than an elephant. It moved on 2 legs and 4 simultaneously. Its head was a lion's head. Its hands were man's hands. This was Dagura, a jinn, but not an ordinary one. The chief of chiefs, the commander above all commanders in the jinn world, a being who had fought the forces of darkness thousands of times, so powerful he could hold his own against 1,000,000 opponents alone, and possessed of an army to match. Bimru pulled himself out of the turtle shell and stood upright, a figure made of rot and malice and 2,000 years of accumulated evil. And the 2 of them went at each other. Bagla and Lala sat in their circle, chanting, eyes shut, holding the words together, holding the boundary. The river was chaos, the surface boiling and churning like something was fighting inside it too, because something was. The underwater commander and his forces were engaged below. The battle wasn't just on the bank. It was everywhere. Land, water, sky. Because above them, unseen to the 2 men, Dagura's army was holding off thousands of Bimru's reinforcements in the air, entities that had come to save their master. The guru's circle held them out of reach. His chanting maintained the barrier. If he had stopped even for a moment, the barrier would have fallen, and none of them would have survived. He did not stop. Midway through, a second lion figure appeared. Dagura's general, who has been commanding the aerial battle, came down to join him. Together, they overwhelmed Bimru. They tore him apart. First, the heads, then the body,
piece by piece. When it was done, Dagura and his general dove into the river to finish what remained below. The sounds from the trees stopped, the river calmed, and the guru fell unconscious. Bagla and Lala caught him before he hit the ground. They had no idea if he was alive. Then Dagura and the general came up from the river in one motion and stood in front of them. Their hands were full of dead monitor lizards. Every last one of them said, "It's finished. Take your teacher home. When the morning light comes, he will wake up." And they were gone. Bagla and Lala carried the guru back to his sister's house and sat with him through the rest of the night. At first light, his eyes opened. He ate, he bathed, they all ate together. Then they asked him, "Why did you collapse?" And the guru told them what they hadn't been able to see. The aerial battle, the thousands of entities that had pressed against his circle from above, the chanting that had kept them out, words so long and so demanding that his breath had nearly given out. He watched the whole thing from inside his own effort, maintaining the barrier, watching Dagura fight, watching Dagura's general come down to help, watching Bimru end. The moment the last one died, there was nothing left to hold against. The tension released at once, and he went down with it. The dead monitor lizards Dagura brought up, those were the remains of Bimru's servants. Every shape they had worn, all of them, gone. In the days that followed, the guru performed a final ritual over the village, a sealing, a protection, so that what had come there could not easily come again. He stayed 4 or 5 days. His sister's family fed him well. The whole village was grateful. When he finally left, he walked away having fought one of the ugliest things this world has to offer. And he won. The guru is no longer alive. But in that region of Gambia, among the elders who were there, he is still spoken of, still named. The children and grandchildren of those elders have heard the story. On quiet evenings, the old ones still gather and tell it. He died, and he's still alive in that way. Chuck couldn't tell me the guru's actual name. He just knew the story the way it had been passed down to him. Make of that what you will. That's where this first account ends. A dead woman named her own killer from inside her corpse. 3 children were sacrificed to corrupt a river and trigger a plague that would have killed thousands. And the only thing that stopped it was an old man willing to walk into a river in the middle of the night and negotiate with what lived at the bottom. Make of that what you will. All right, let's keep going. The next account comes from a listener whose neighbor, a man named Riyadh, drove an ambulance for 5 years. And one night, on a dark highway, alone with a body in the back of his vehicle, something happened that he has never been able to fully explain. I want you to stay with me on this one because it starts ordinary and ends somewhere you won't expect. Here's what happened.
Riyadh worked for a private hospital. Part of his job, transporting bodies. Not always, but sometimes. Long distances, different districts. One afternoon, he got the call. Come to the office, there's a body that needs to go to Rajshahi. He went, he saw her. A young woman, college age, maybe university. The kind of accident that leaves nothing clean. One side of her head caved in, hair matted and wild, blood from multiple wounds on her body. She had been living in the dormitory, no family nearby. Some of her teachers and classmates had come to identify her and arrange transport. They loaded her into the ambulance. Riyadh was going to take her alone, the way he sometimes did on longer runs. But that evening, he called his assistant, a young man named Rocky, and brought him along. 4-5 hours on the road. Better to have company. They drove. They stopped somewhere along the way to eat. Then they got back on the road. A few kilometers later, a tire blew out. Riyadh pulled over, got out, checked the damage, then checked for a spare. No spare. It had been forgotten. Rocky said, "I'll take the blown tire back to where we ate. See if there's somewhere it can be patched." He took some money and the ruined tire and headed back down the road. Riyadh got back into the ambulance to wait. The highway was quiet. Every few minutes, a long-distance bus would blow past. The road was otherwise empty, dark. No people, no buildings visible. Almost 10 p.m. Riyadh lit a cigarette. He sat in the front seat and watched the side mirror for Rocky coming back. Then his eyes caught the interior rearview mirror. He looked at it, looked away, took another drag, looked back. The girl was sitting up. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. He just sat there, cigarette in his hand, staring at the mirror. His body had stopped taking instructions from his brain. Then, from behind him, a voice. Scared. "Brother, I'm so thirsty. My throat is burning." Panic. Riyadh turned around. Dark. She was sitting up, looking at him. The wounds, the damage he had seen when they loaded her, none of it seemed as severe in that moment. She looked like someone who had just woken up, dazed, present, serious. He reached behind him and handed her a water bottle. Suspense. She took it, drank it in one long pull, then let out a slow breath, the kind someone lets out when a specific physical suffering has been eased. Thoughtful. Riyadh sat there and thought, this is a mistake. She was unconscious, not dead. They loaded a living girl into his ambulance and called her a body. Serious. He thought about how that was possible, how a hospital could miss something that obvious, how no one had checked. He was building the whole story in his head, the calls he'd have to make, the paperwork, the complications. Mysterious. Then the girl spoke again. She said, "You know, brother, my university had just closed for a break. I was packing up to go home. I took a rickshaw to the bus station. I paid the fare. I was walking a little ways toward the platform, and I didn't notice a bus coming fast behind me." She said it hit her. She said she went down in front of it. She said the driver's side front wheel passed over the left side of her head and dragged her body several meters before stopping. "I was still alive for a while after it happened," she said. "I couldn't cry out. I couldn't call for help, but I was so thirsty. I wanted to scream, 'Someone please give me water. My throat is burning.' I couldn't make the sound. I just needed water so badly." Silently, she paused. "When someone finally came and tried to give me water, I was already at the end. The water ran down my face. It didn't go in. And then it was over. My ID card, that's how they reached my teachers, and my teachers arranged for you to bring me home." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Please tell my parents and my brothers and sisters not to grieve too much for me." She looked at him. "And thank you for the water." She lay back down. A few minutes later, Rocky returned with the tire fixed. He knocked on the door. Riyadh didn't respond immediately. Rocky touched his shoulder. Riyadh came back to himself. His whole body was soaked in sweat. He didn't say a word to Rocky about what had happened. They drove through the night. They reached the girl's home the next morning, around 9 o'clock. Her family was waiting. When they brought her in, the crying started immediately. Riyadh didn't stay long. He couldn't stay. He started the ambulance and began driving back toward the city. He reached the stretch of highway where the tire had blown. And there she was, standing on the side of the road, in daylight, smiling, waving at him as he passed. He said, "I felt my mood lift, just lift, like something heavy had released." He drove the rest of the way home without fear, but he has never stopped thinking about it. That's where Riyadh's account ends. A dead girl sat up in the back of an ambulance on a dark highway and asked for water. She described her own death in detail, including what it felt like to be alive and unable to call out. Then she asked for her family to be told not to grieve too much. And on the way back, on the same road, she was standing there, waving goodbye. Make of that what you will.
All right, one more. The last account tonight comes from a listener who heard this from his own mother. It happened in Rangamati, Chittagong, and it starts with a stranger arriving at the door and ends with something wearing a human face trying to eat a dead body in the dark. Stay with me. Here's what happened. This story belongs to my mother. She told it to me herself. I'm telling it the way she told it to me. The year was somewhere around 1974 or 1975. The location, a small community in the Rangamati area of Chittagong. I won't name the exact place. My mother's family at that time were the village headman's family. My father was the headman, the person everyone in that community deferred to. What he said went. One day, a woman arrived at the village, tall, unfamiliar, the look of someone from far away. She had a son with her. She was looking for somewhere to stay. People sent her to my father. My father heard her out. He said, "There's no available space right now, but there's a room in the Chowdhury family's compound that's been empty. Let me talk to them." In the meantime, she and her son stayed with our family. My father arranged it, the Chowdhury compound. The woman and her son moved in. They lived quietly. They cut wood from the hills and sold it. Basic life, nothing unusual. About 2 years passed. Then the mother and son started fighting at night, arguments that carried in the dark. Then the son got sick, smallpox. He deteriorated. The neighbors saw it happening. And one morning, my father went for the early morning prayer at the mosque, and the neighbors told him the woman had been crying all night, screaming, arguing. After the prayer, a group went to check on her. She came to the door with a long blade in her hand. She raised it toward my father. The others held her back, talked her down, asked her what had happened. And then she told them. I'm going to tell this the way she told it, in her own voice, the way she recounted that night. You all know my son has been sick for a long time. He died last night. It was late. I couldn't bring myself to call anyone. I just cried. In the middle of the night, I heard knocking. It was the headman. He said he'd heard about my son and came to help. I let him in. He sat with me for a while. Then he said, "You've been awake all night. There's a lot to do tomorrow. The burial, everything. Why don't you rest? I'll sit with your son." I said no. He insisted. He kept insisting. I went to the other room. I didn't sleep. Something kept me awake. I just lay there and listened. After a while, I heard him moving around, going to the kitchen, coming back. I followed him quietly. He was in the kitchen. He had taken something, salt. he was carrying it back toward my son's body. I understood then what I was looking at. I went to the kitchen and took the long blade. I watched from the doorway. He sat down beside my son's body. He began touching it. Then he began hitting it. Then he started eating. He was eating my son. She went at him with the blade. The moment she struck, he changed. She described what she saw: heavy, matted fur covering a body that was no longer proportioned like a man, a face that was no longer a face, something that had been wearing the headman's appearance and now had stopped bothering. It attacked her. She kept swinging, fighting. She got to the door, got it open, screamed. She said she didn't know how long she fought, only that at some point she heard the call to morning prayer drifting in from a distance, and the moment that call sounded, everything stopped. The thing that had been in her home was gone.
She said she had some knowledge of her own, traditional knowledge, handed down, and she believed that was the only reason it couldn't fully harm her. It could disguise itself, it could deceive, but it could not simply overpower her. By morning, the boy's body was buried, and the entity was gone. No one ever found out where. About 10 years later, there was a wedding celebration at the Chowdhury family compound, the same place where the woman had once lived. My mother went with the family. A festive night, music, people everywhere. My mother fell asleep at some point during the evening. When she woke, everyone had gone home. She was alone in the compound. She decided to walk home by herself. 5 minutes, what could happen? She started walking. A little ways down the road, she heard something behind her, footsteps. She turned. Nothing. She kept walking. She heard it again. She turned. 2 geese were chasing her. And she ran. She ran and screamed all the way to the front of her home and collapsed in the yard. When she woke, she was inside, her family around her, morning light. Her father had heard the screaming and come out and found her. She was taken to a local religious figure who performed a ruqyah and said something had followed her, something drawn to her that night. It had tried to attach itself. Her parents being outside the house had disrupted it before it could complete what it intended. After that, nothing more happened. But my mother still tarries both nights with her. The night she fought something that wore a neighbor's face, and the night that something came chasing after her in the form of 2 geese on a dark road. She has never fully explained the connection between the 2 events. Neither have I. That's where this account ends. A woman fought something in the dark that had disguised itself as her neighbor and was eating her dead son. It transformed the moment she struck it, and 10 years later, at the same location, something came after her daughter on a quiet road in the middle of the night. Make of that what you will. If you've experienced something that couldn't be explained, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Stay safe out there. She laid it out. The robbery happened in the exact window when the indoor staff was gone, and the security guard, the man at the gate, hadn't done a single thing to slow 5 armed intruders. Not one thing. She had the guard brought in, asked him questions, watched him. He stumbled. His answers didn't hold together. She told her husband, let him go. He was part of it, I'm certain. Her husband wasn't fully convinced, but he trusted her. The guard was dismissed. A new one was hired, and life resumed, or tried to. Samira was now 8 months pregnant and struggling physically. She needed someone around the clock. She asked the new guard to put the word out. 2 days later, he came to her. There's a young woman outside, man. She says she's willing to stay full-time. Bring her in. The young woman who walked through Samira's door was not what she expected. She was strikingly beautiful, well-dressed, composed. Her name was Fariha. She was 17, no ID, which for that era and that age wasn't unusual. Samira hired her on the spot, and what followed felt like a miracle. Fariha anticipated needs before Samira could voice them. She was there at 3 a.m. if the lights came on. She managed everything. Samira praised her to anyone who would listen. She doubled Fariha's salary within weeks, afraid that if the girl had any reason to leave, she'd lose the only thing holding the household together. Then things began to shift. Samira started having dreams, not regular nightmares. Every night, a cemetery, surrounded by the dead, bodies moving toward her, figures reaching, the room contracting around her like it was closing in. She'd wake up screaming, not once, not a phase, every single night. She started taking medication just to sleep. Even medicated, she'd jolt awake, heart pounding, convinced the figures were still in the room with her. Then came the delivery. The ultrasound, right up until the final days, showed a completely healthy baby. The baby was born dead, and not stillborn in the way doctors have language for. The baby's bones, internally, were described as shattered, crushed, as if tremendous pressure had been applied from the inside out. The doctors formed a board. They reviewed everything. They came back with nothing. Samira never held her child. Her family kept the baby's face from her. The burial was handled quickly. They told her it was better not to see. She never got to say goodbye. And from that point forward, the nightmares got worse. Weeks later, Samira was handling her own clothing when she felt something hard stitched into the fabric. She had it cut out, a talisman sewn directly into the seam. She called in the laundress, then the tailor, questioned both of them. Both were visibly shaken. Samira's husband was deteriorating. A man who had never taken unplanned time off from work was now sleeping until midday, missing days. His energy was gone. His personality was dimming. Then one night, Samira had a dream. A woman, disfigured, burned face open, singing, moving toward Samira's husband, reaching for him, and Samira's husband, paralyzed, couldn't get away. He looked back at Samira and made a sign with his hand, a symbol, deliberate, something she recognized as dark, a sigil of some kind. She wouldn't describe it further. She only said, if you searched it, you'd understand what it meant. She woke up screaming. Her husband was beside her. She told him the dream. He went quiet. Then he started to cry. He told her he'd been having the same dream, the same burned woman, the same paralysis, the same symbol appearing as a threat for 3 months. He'd never told her because Samira's sister Emmy had once advised against sharing bad dreams with others. They sat together until the early morning prayer. Her husband got up to perform his ablution, went to the kitchen for water, and the ceiling fan above Samira's bed fell directly onto the mattress where she had been lying. Running at full speed, she had shifted slightly in the seconds before it dropped. That shift, that small, unremarkable movement, is the only reason she was alive. Samira's sister Emmy had been trying for a long time to bring in a spiritual healer. Samira had always refused, but Emmy kept pushing, and one day she arrived at the house with a woman, older, calm. The woman looked at Samira in the doorway and stopped dead. She stared, not rudely, like she was processing something she hadn't anticipated. Then she came inside, sat down, and without being asked, said, "You have serious black magic on you. If you don't address this, someone in your household is going to die." Samira told her to leave. Firmly, politely. She said she was grieving, she was managing, she did not need more weight placed on her. The woman stood, looked at Samira one more time. "When you're ready, find me." And she left. Samira didn't call her back. One evening, Samira was on the roof, coffee in hand, watching the sky. She saw her husband near the edge of the roof, eyes closed, completely still. She called to him. He didn't respond. He raised one hand and began making the same symbol from the dream, slow, deliberate, like he wasn't fully there. Then he opened his eyes, looked directly at her, made the symbol again, and stepped off the edge. 6 stories. Samira lost consciousness. When she came around, she was in her room. Her sister, Emmy, was beside her. The news was delivered quietly, the kind of quiet that people use when the words themselves could break someone. Her husband was gone. Eventually, Samira returned to the house. She needed to be around his things, his clothes, the spaces that still held his shape. Fariha was there, still working, cooking when Samira walked in. "Make me a coffee, please. I'm going to rest." She started toward the sitting room, and from the kitchen, she heard something, a voice, low, careful, like someone having a conversation they didn't want overheard. It stopped when Samira appeared. Fariha said she had been singing to herself. Samira let it go. Then, days later, she went up to the roof. She came up quietly, and she saw Fariha standing with someone, a man she didn't recognize. And she heard Fariha say, clearly, without hesitation, her husband's dead. Now it's her turn. When she goes, my revenge will be complete. Fariha grabbed Fariha by the hair, pulled her inside, called her brother and Emi. They came immediately. When they confronted Fariha, threatened to call the police, she broke. She started crying. Then she started confessing. She led them through the house, room by room, pulled talismans out of pillowcases, from under the mattress, from inside the wardrobe, from gaps in the floor. Then she told them what she had put in the coffee, ground bone, mixed in, from a corpse. The mug dropped from Samira's hands. Fariha kept talking. She said she had done this to all of them, over time, through the food, through the drinks, that she was responsible for the baby, for the husband. And then she said why. She was the daughter of the security guard Samira had dismissed after the robbery, the one Samira had suspected of working with the intruders. After being let go under that suspicion, her father had never found work again. The shame followed him everywhere. He couldn't provide for his children, and one day, he died by suicide. The room went completely silent. Fariha looked at Samira. Was I supposed to just let that go? Samira had no answer. She stood there in her own house, surrounded by everything she had lost, and she had no answer. Fariha was removed from the property. A religious scholar was brought in. Quranic recitation was performed throughout every room of the house. Charitable giving was made in the names of the dead. The scholar declared the house clean. Samira has carried this story for years, and the question she still lives with, the one she told me she can't shake, isn't whether black magic is real. She's long past that. The question is simpler. What if they had been wrong about the guard? What if the suspicion, however reasonable it seemed, had been checked more carefully before it destroyed a man's life? She doesn't know. She may never know. That's where this account ends. Fariha entered Samira's home as a caretaker, spent months earning total trust, was praised publicly and given raises, all while systematically working to kill every member of that household, one by one. The baby died with no medical explanation. The husband walked off a 6-story roof in a trance-like state. And the only thing that broke the situation open was Samira overhearing a conversation she was never supposed to hear. Make of that what you will. If you've experienced something that couldn't be explained, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Stay safe out there. All right, let's keep going. The next account comes from a listener based in Oman, and he's not telling his own story. He's telling the story of a coworker, a man named Saif from Bangladesh. A man who passed a graveyard one evening on a bicycle and picked up something he never asked for and carried it with him for the rest of his life. Stay with me on this one because it starts small, ordinary, and ends somewhere you won't expect. Here's what happened.
I came to Oman in 2012 for work. At my company, there was another Bangladeshi worker. His name was Saif. His hometown was in the Noakhali district back home. We worked the same shift, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. After hours, we'd sit outside, eat, and talk. We got close fast. Less like friends, more like brothers. One night, Saif told me he had something he'd never told anyone, something from his life back in Bangladesh. He wanted to get it out. I told him I was listening. Before I tell you what he said, let me give you the geography of where he grew up, because it matters. Half an hour on foot from his house to the market, 15 minutes by bicycle, and exactly halfway, right in the middle of that road, was a cremation ground, a place where the Hindu community in that area conducted their funeral rites. At the edge of that cremation ground stood a massive banyan tree, old, wide, the kind of tree that feels like it's watching. The road ran right alongside it. You had to pass it. There was no other way. Saif was young when this happened. One afternoon, between the late afternoon prayer and sunset, his family sent him to the market on the family bicycle. He picked up what was needed. He started home. He reached the cremation ground, and the bicycle got heavy. Now, Saif knew exactly what a loaded bike felt like. He'd ridden his whole life. Solo, the bike is light. Someone sitting behind you, the bike shifts. It pulls differently. You feel the weight immediately. And right at the moment he passed that banyan tree, the bike shifted. Like someone had sat down behind him on the back rack. He looked back. Nobody there.
He kept pedaling. The resistance didn't go away. The bike moved, but wrong, sluggish, like he was dragging something enormous uphill, even though the road was completely flat. His legs were burning. His lungs were burning. He pushed, and the bike barely responded. He didn't stop. He kept going. Then he reached his front gate, and the bike went light again. Between one pedal stroke and the next, the weight was gone. No sound, no shadow. When he turned to look, nothing behind him but the empty road. He went inside and told his mother what had happened. She recited Quranic verses over him and blew on his face and hands in the way older women from that region do for protection. That night, nothing else happened. Sometime later, Saif was in bed. Night, mosquito net up, room dark. He noticed something in the corner of the net, a small glow, faint, moving like a firefly, except it wasn't. It moved with intention, like something that knew exactly where it was going, and it was moving toward him. Then the smell hit, the whole room filled with it, a fragrance unlike anything that belonged in a closed bedroom in rural Bangladesh in the middle of the night. Not perfume, not incense, something else entirely, something that had no business being there. Saif couldn't speak, couldn't move. He tried to scream. Eventually, it came out. His family came running. They came into the room. They looked around. Nothing there. But the smell, every single person who walked into that room stopped, and they all said the same thing. What is that? It lingered for a while. Prayers were said. Eventually, it faded. But from that point forward, something changed for Saif.
Whenever he was alone, walking somewhere, sitting by himself in a quiet room, he'd catch that same fragrance again, unmistakable. And the moment it reached him, he knew something was close. His body would go heavy, his hair would rise, the same pressure, the same presence. No form, no sound, just there. It happened again and again, for years. He never saw anything, but he always knew when it arrived. Eventually, Saif left Bangladesh. He came to Oman for work, and it came with him. New country, different continent, years later, the fragrance still arrived without warning. Same smell, same heaviness, same raised hair. Whatever had attached itself to him at that cremation ground had not let go. It had simply traveled. Then, one night in Oman, Saif was outside, low light. He caught the smell. His body went stiff. And then he saw something. About 15 to 20 feet ahead of him, a shape, feminine, moving toward him. He stood there and watched it close the distance. 10 feet, maybe 12. Then it stepped off the path and walked into a bush. Just walked into the brush and was gone. Saif told me what happened next slowly, like it still surprised him even as he said it. He said he made a decision in that moment. He was tired of being afraid, tired of feeling it without ever seeing it, tired of years of not knowing. So he took out his phone, turned on the flashlight, and walked straight toward that bush. He pushed through. The area was completely empty. No one, nothing. Bare ground, no footprints, no broken branches, no sign that anything had just passed through. He stood in that space for a long moment. Then he went back to his room. He never told anyone in Oman. He never went looking for answers. The only person he ever told was me. That's where Saif's account ends. Whatever attached itself to him at that cremation ground in Bangladesh, it made the journey to Oman. It moved through his sleep, through his daily life, through a different continent entirely. He never found out what it was. He never found a way to make it stop. He just learned to recognize the smell. Make of that what you will. Samira told me she never wanted to share this story. She said it felt like something heavy sitting inside her chest, something she had carried for years without being able to put down. And finally, she decided someone else needed to know. So she told me, and I'm telling you. Samira's husband had been working abroad. When he came home, it was because both of his parents had passed away in close succession. The family home was large, 2 stories, a full staff, indoor help, a laundress, a tailor, a security guard rotating shifts at the gate. Samira and her husband had everything they needed, materially at least. Then one night, 5 men in masks came through the gate. They tied up the security guard, broke through the front door, bound Samira and her husband, and took everything. The indoor staff had already left for the night. The guard on duty, the man whose entire job was to stop exactly this, did nothing. No shout, no struggle, nothing. Samira was 6 months pregnant. The trauma hit her immediately. She fell into a deep depression. Eventually, she went to stay with her parents just to breathe.
When she came back, steadier, she sat her husband down. "I think one of our own people was involved." He listened carefully.